kids, how you doing this morning? We are ready for chapter 5 already of Midnight on the Moon. Now remember, we ended with Annie driving the moon buggy and they were flying across the moon. So chapter 5, hang on. Annie drove the moon buggy over bumps and hollows. It bucked like a bronco. I'm going over there. She pointed to an opening between two mountains. Jack held onto the dashboard. The buggy bumped toward the opening and shot through. On the other side, the ground was even rockier. Look for the fourth M thing, said Annie as she bounced up and down. Jack groaned. Looking for anything on this wild ride was impossible. So slow down, he said. How? Annie yelled. Try pressing on the brake pedal on the floor slowly. Annie pressed on the brake. The buggy slowed down. Jack sighed with relief. The ride was still bumpy, but now at least he could take a good look at the moon. He had never been to such a colorless, barren place. There was no green, no blue, no red, no water, no trees, no clouds, only giant gray rocks and craters, and an American flag. Oh man, said Jack. That's from the first astronauts who landed on the moon. And look, a telescope, said Annie. She drove near the flag and telescope. She put her foot on the brake until the buggy stopped. She pressed a button that said off, and then she and Jack hopped out. They took slow, giant steps to the site of the first moon landing. Beside the flag was a sign. Annie read it out loud. Here, men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind. Well, that's a good message, said Jack. He handed the moon book back to Annie. Then he took out his notebook and pencil to copy the sign. Hey, let's leave our own message, said Annie. What would we say, said Jack. The same thing, said Annie, but we'll say we are the first kids upon the planet moon, or upon the moon. Jack turned to a new page in his notebook and he wrote in big letters. Now we have to sign it, said Annie. Jack signed his name. Then he passed the notebook and pencil to Annie, and she signed her name and passed the notebook back. Jack tore out the piece of paper and he put it by the flag. The note read, Today, the first kids from the planet Earth came to the moon. We came in peace for all children, Jack and Annie. No wind would ever blow this message away. No rain would ever fall on it. It would be there forever, unless someone moved it. Thinking of forever made Jack feel dizzy. He shook his head, and then he remembered the time. Had 2 hours passed yet? I wish I had a watch, he said, standing up. We might be running out of time. Oh, wow, said Annie. A moon man. What? Jack turned to look at her. She was staring through the telescope. Jack walked over to the telescope and Annie stepped aside so he could look too. Jack gasped. In the distance, something was flying above the ground, and it looked like a giant man in a spacesuit. Who could that be? We'll find out on, that will be on Monday. We'll find out, and we'll be ready for chapter 6. I hope you all have a great weekend. Again, stay safe, and I miss you all this much.